Tashidalek and greetings to all. As of today, I'll be starting a new series, Tibetan as Second Language. And as you can see in the title also, it's called P Bootcamp. So this series will consist of about 50 plus videos. And the objective is to be able to read prayer books, comprehend e-news, newspapers, etc. in Tibetan language, hopefully be able to communicate in written Tibetan language, be able to attend more advanced classes from other galas, geshe-las, teachers in your area, and then be in a position to help others when needed, especially your little brother or little sister or your children. And this is for anyone interested in Tibetan language, and primarily for Tibetan children who are born and bred outside Tibet and India. So these are the resources I'll be using in this series. So the first one, Melam Fonts application for Windows and Mac, and then Melam Dictionary application for Windows and Mac, and then Melam Universal Pronunciation application for Windows only. So if you are interested about these three applications, then in YouTube search box you can type in CBT-32, CBT space 33, or CBT space 34, and you can watch those videos if needed. So if you have the fonts application installed, this one right here, if you have the fonts application installed, then you should be able to type in Tibetan. So as an example, okay, let me see if I have the keyboard selected. Okay, so I have the Melam Pui keyboard selected right here, and now I can proceed with typing, right? So it's Ga, Ka, Ka, and Nga, right? So the first four letters in the Tibetan alphabet, and then Za, Cha, Cha, Nya, right? And then if I go down, that's Ba, Ta, Ta, and Na, right? So the reason I'm able to do this is because I have the Melam Fonts application installed, CBT32, if you need more details. And then if you have the dictionary application installed, then you should be able to look up any in English or in Tibetan. So first let me see. Okay, so it's in English, so I'm gonna type, for example, be kind, right? Kind. So when you say kind, it could also mean different, or you can say kindness, right? Kindness. Gadi, tukse, pensem. Or you can say help. Rokpa, rogram, rok, pendo, rok cheba, pendo cheba, gyobro cheba. And then you can look up compassion, means nyingje, or you can have different meanings up here depending on what kind of word you're typing in here. Or you can say like everyday words like apple, right? Apple, gushu, right? Or like grapes, maybe grape, right? Gundum. And then banana, right? Ngangla. So you get the idea. So basically you can type in English and then you get the meaning in Tibetan, or you can click here, you can type in Tibetan and get the meaning in English. So to be able to do that, I need to switch the keyboard back to Tibetan, and then I'll type right in Tibetan. So it's Kashapjuku, Shashapjushu, right? Kushu. So kushu means apple, right? So that's, now you get the idea, right? So basically from English to Tibetan or Tibetan to English. And then if you have the Melam Universal Pronunciation application installed, then you should be able to launch the application. Once you have launched the application, then you can run it. For example,
Ka, 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 Nga.
so you get the idea, right? So you click on each of these letters, and then it'll be pronounced, and then over here it shows from how you're supposed to pronounce it, like which part of the mouth you use, like whether you use the lip or whether you use the teeth or the upper part of the mouth, or maybe from here. So depending on depending on the letter, it could be generated from any of these parts or any of these places. So you can look up that and then you can check it yourself. Okay, so then if I go back to oops. Okay, then you can also, in YouTube, you can also look up Sambodha Tibetan language. And then these two teachers, Lobsang Gombola and Chamba Chodala, they teach Tibetan language. And then you can also look up Sumjupa by Geshe Gyatsan Ella from Sarache Monastery. And then you can also, I'm also using Tibetan language course book by Lama Chodak T. Yuthok, Canberra, 1994. And then I'm also using Intro to Grammar of the Tibetan Language by Sarath Chandradas, Lhasa Villa, Darjeeling, 1914. And then I'm using these two websites, lotsawahouse.org and tibetanebook.com. So tibetanebook.com, you'll find all kinds of reference material, ebooks for free. So you can go here and then download as many free ebooks as you need it. And then if you go here, you'll see Lotsawa in Tibetan means translation or translator. So you'll find all kinds of translation from prayer books, and prayer translation from Tibetan to English or English to Tibetan. So check these two websites. Okay, now what will be the materials that I'll be covering? So to start with, we'll do a little bit of historical background, and then we'll start with consonants, vowels, genders, root letters, suffix letters, prefix, post-suffix, passive consonants, and then we'll look at surmount letters, subjoined letters, and then we'll look at a syllable and its denominations. So basically it's prefix, root, vowels, suffix, post-suffix, and then we'll look at numerals or numbers, weeks, seasons, colors, everyday items, irregular, and then we also look at irregular pronunciation in Tibetan language, and then we'll look at sentences, some ceremonial songs, including Tibetan national anthem, and then we'll do Sumjupa. So basically, when you hear Sumtak, when you hear people Tibetan say Sumtak, Sumtak means Sumjupa and Dangju. So it's joined together. Sum for Sumjupa, Tak for Dangjupa. So these two root texts are done by Timis Sambodha, the inventor or the father of the Tibetan language. So he's the one who created the whole Tibetan grammar. And so as a student, we learned Leksha Joma, which is for Sumjupa, and the author is Yangjin Drube Dojibel. So we learned Leksha Joma, which covers everything about Sumjupa in a easy to understand, precise way. So that's why we learned this as a student when we were kids. And in Sumjupa, it talks about the 8 different cases, or namye, we call it in Tibetan, and then 8 dependent particles, te, xianwanje, and then 6 independent particles, te, ranwanje. So basically in Tibetan, in Sumjupa, these are the topics we cover. So in this picture, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is releasing Melam Universal Pronunciation Application in 2009. And this is the renowned Bishop Melam La. He is the one who created all those applications, a suite of applications. And this is the first guy who created Tibetan English dictionary in 1834. So he's a Hungarian guy, Sandor Korosi Soma, and he's the first one to create a Tibetan English dictionary in 1834. And then this is Sarath Chandradas, an Indian scholar of Tibetan language, and so you guys can look up for more information. You guys can find online like more information about these people. So I'm also consulting his book also. So this is in 1849. And then this is Ikai Kawaguchi, the first Japanese Buddhist monk who went to Nepal and Tibet. So you can also look up him online and find out more information. So basically, these are the foreigners who are interested in Tibetan language a long time ago, maybe 300 years ago. So this is a screenshot from Sarath Chandradas' book. So he's saying, I bow to the feet of Thumisambhoda, the father of Tibetan literature, who at the dawn of the wonderful conception of Buddhism in Tibetan mind made the religion of Buddha bright as the day in the vast country of Bodha, meaning Tibet, right? So he also consulted the Hungarian guy. His book, like Sarath Chandradas, his book is also inspired and based on this guy's books, the Hungarian scholar. So he's saying, I honor the memory of Soma de Koros, the great Hungarian scholar, who first interpreted in English the many difficult points of Tibetan grammar, arranged them, and published it in Calcutta in 1834. So this is Lhasa Villa, Darjeeling, Sarath Chandradas. And these are screenshots from his book also. So the establishment of the ancient Nalanda as an undisputed seat of learning was a natural consequence of the time and place in which it was situated. Ancient Magadha was characterized by an intellectual ferment unlike any known to mankind. This heritage was divided into two parts, both Buddhist and non-Buddhist. This ability to meld multiple discourses and to embrace knowledge in its entirety is what made Nalanda uniquely attractive for all seekers of pure knowledge. Historical sources indicate that the university had a long and illustrious life which lasted almost continually for 800 years from the 5th to the 12th century CE. It was a completely residential university with over 2,000 teachers and 10,000 students. The Nalanda ruins reveal through their architectural components the holistic nature of the knowledge that was sought and imparted at this university. It's just a seamless coexistence between nature and man and between living and learning. So this is a picture of the ruins of Nalanda University. And then in the same book here, the profound knowledge of Nalanda teachers attracted scholars from places as distant as China, Korea, Japan, Tibet, Mongolia, Turkey, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. These scholars have left records about the ambience, architecture, and learning of this unique university. The most detailed accounts have come from the Chinese scholars, and the best known of these is Zhuangzang, who carried back many hundred scriptures which were later translated into Chinese. Close to the end of the 12th century, Nalanda was destroyed by invaders. The period from which Nalanda ceased to exist was a time that the great universities of the Western world came into being, marking the shift in knowledge production and dissemination from the east to the west. Only Al-Azhar in Cairo, Bologna in Italy, and Oxford in the United Kingdom had been founded before the destruction of Nalanda. So this is again also a screenshot from Sarath's book. So this is a pretty famous line in Tibetan. Basically it's saying Rirpa Nangbar Chiyang Lap Tseder Kepar Magyar Kyang Kewa Chimar Jolwai Norla Rangi Lembarda. Translation: even if one is to die tomorrow, one should study knowledge. Even if one does not become an expert in this lifetime, it is similar to depositing for future rebirths. for it is like claiming one's own possessions. And then this is a very popular English expression, right? You can lead a horse to water. So we have a similar expression in Tibetan also, and it roughly translates into don't be like someone who is holding the cup upside down when somebody is trying to pour in water, right? Water or tea or coffee or whatever. If you're holding the cup upside down, nothing is going to go in, right? So similarly, you can take the horse to the water, but if the horse doesn't drink it, there isn't much you could do. So that's, as a student, you shouldn't be like this. On the other hand, as a student, this is how you would like to be, right? With all the available resources, you study on your own, you spend in time, you put in time, because when you are studying a new language, either as a first language or a second language or a third language, you need to put in time, right? So on this side, see, she's holding the cup in a proper way, like how it should be. So whatever you try to pour in, it goes in, right? So as a student, so that's how we would like everybody to be, right? Receptive, right? Basically receptive. So I think that's the end of this lesson. So in the next video, then I'm gonna start with lesson number 1. And until then, as always, whenever possible, try to help others. If not, at least restrain from harming others. Thanks a lot.